Okay. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about here is the whole model of reality that has become quite popular in contemporary spirituality. And I tend to associate more with what I call esoteric New Age, because a lot of these ideas had their roots in theosophy, the teachings of Madame Blavatsky, and then that really is a part of the esoteric tradition that she kind of cultivated and worked with, and then has been quite popularized and simplified in ways. And a key concept here is that reality is indeed multidimensional, consisting of different levels of reality, and the difference between one level of reality and the next is a matter of vibrational frequency. Okay, vibrational frequency. And that there are these different planes, so that this is the earth plane or the physical plane. And then there's other planes like the astral plane, you probably have heard of, right? And then the etheric, the causal, the mental, spiritual, what have you. There's various planes. And they're all different from one another because of vibrational frequency. And so the physical, this earthly plane, is a very heavy, dense plane. That's what makes it material to us. What we think is material, or call it material. And it's a slower vibrational frequency. And so because it's slower, it makes it more heavy and dense. And then other planes, if they're a faster vibration, they become lighter in nature and more subtle in nature, not so dense, but more subtle. And the faster the vibration, then it's higher levels of reality, and they become less dense and even more subtle, okay, to what we think they're just totally non-material, right? So it's all different levels of different vibrational frequency, going from slow to fast, number one. And correlating with those different planes of reality, they're also then, we as individuals, we also have different bodies. We have a physical body that's in the physical plane, and we have an astral body that exists on the astral plane and onward. So correlating with each plane is a body. And so we are multi-dimensional beings living in a multi-dimensional universe. Okay, so the world out there is multidimensional, and we ourselves are multidimensional beings that fit in and live in multidimensional realities. Okay, so that's the key thing. And so I'm just going to present a bit of a simplified version. Again, there'll be different ways, different people, schools of thought will kind of work with it in various ways, and so again, it's not like there's one uniform presentation here. It's just to give you a bit of an idea of the concepts that you'll find and run into in various groups in terms of contemporary spirituality in various ways. So to begin with, I'm just trying to make a little bit of a map. Okay, we've got the physical. Okay, that's the lowest form, the most dense, the heaviest of what we think is the material. And then the etheric, the astral, the mental, the causal, and the spiritual. And the thing is that all of this, we have then at our core, our spirit, okay, are none other than the divine within. This is the divine, the creative divine intelligence, the source of the universe, pure consciousness, what many would call God, okay, the supreme being, the source of all that is actually like drops coming out of an ocean that make up the essence of me, the essence of you at the level of spirit. And that is where we're not different, okay? We're all coming from the same source, manifestations of the same source. But then surrounding that spirit, okay, we'll have, I'll put here, CB for causal body that lives in the causal plane, all right? And so the same thing here with this person. And then surrounding and encasing that will be the mental body, all right? Same thing here. And then around this is the astral body, okay? And likewise here, right? And then the etheric, and I'll kind of go through what they all are a bit more. All right, and then of course the physical body. Okay, physical body. All right. Okay, so isn't that my nice, wonderful diagram? So I'll have a physical body, and so will you, and of course they're different bodies, right? And the physical body is what we think of as this physical body. Now what happens is that this physical body is just the material component. But what really has this body operating and makes it alive is the etheric body. Okay? This provides two things. Let me see here. Okay. The etheric body provides the blueprint. Okay? Sort of the map that directs the etheric in terms of the life force energy. The life force energy that makes us alive, okay, a living being. The etheric body presents basically is sort of the blueprint, the intelligence that also is the life source of this physical body. So that, say, for give you an example here. I heard a Chinese fellow give a talk, and it was translated into English, and he was a master, I don't know, kind of healer, like working with energy. I don't know if it was Qigong or whatever it was that he was into, but a real master of working with energy. And anyways, was visiting from China, and he was telling the group here of how they did this experiment in China where they took a dead corpse, okay, this dead person was just dead. And they had all these masters around, working chi energy on that body and just bringing energy into that body, right? And they were then able to get the blood to flow and the heart to pump, and basically mechanically had things operating, but yet it was still a dead corpse. It didn't come to life because there was no consciousness there. There was no consciousness there. There was no, if you want to call it soul, spirit, whatever, there was no consciousness there. But mechanically it was flesh, but was kind of brought back to life in a sense through just bringing energy into that body. So there's a sense that here, this is where, for example, you probably have seen where you've got a salamander. I don't know, what does a salamander look like? It's got 4 legs, okay? I don't know. Okay, that's the head, and it's got 4 legs. And they'll cut off the leg of a salamander, right? Well, then what will happen is through a certain kind of photographic equipment, like, they call it Kirlian photography, they'll be able to, through this camera, you'll see the physical body, but they'll see an energy field of where the leg was, okay? They'll see the markings of a leg on an energetic level. And then the salamander will grow another leg according to that energetic blueprint that's there. And the idea here with the etheric body is that it seems to be, and the way it's sometimes presented here, it seems to be that sort of informational, energetic imprint that comes in that directs the cells to become the different parts of the body that they do, that then give them the function that they have. So for example, if you take the fetus of a chicken, right, the embryo there, and and basically all cells are identical. They all have the same DNA, the same genetic code. All cells are totally the same. But there's some mysterious force that directs those cells, that these cells are going to become the feet of the chicken, and these cells are going to become the brain of the chicken, and these cells are going to become the feathers down the road, and these are going to be the eyes, and this is the stomach, and yada yada. They all then compartmentalize to become cells for specific organs and functions and whatnot. And so there's some mysterious something that we don't quite understand or know that seems to exist more on an energetic level. All right, because you can't nail it down directly in a material sense, that provides the information that directs the cells to become what they become, but also is then that triggers the life into that being, what makes it a functioning, living being in some way, right? So it's sort of the essence of life and also the intelligence of that life that makes the physical being function. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. Okay, but that's sort of the idea of the etheric body. It is sort of that life force blueprint that brings life to the physical body. Okay, and so let me see if I wish I had a red marker. I don't have a red marker. I just got blue and green. Yeah. So that's the etheric body. Then you have the astral body, which is a little bit similar in the sense that it also is tied in with energy. And let me use the black one here. When people are doing energy work or energy healing, they're actually addressing both the astral body and the etheric body. Okay. Now the astral body, it takes in the energy, all right, that's tied in with the emotions. Whereas the etheric body is sort of the energy life force that ties in with the body. Okay, the physical body. And so when somebody is seeing the auras or the energy field around a person or in the person, they're reading either the etheric body or the astral body is sort of the idea. And so the etheric body, like if you see some of these people who do energy healing and energy work on people, they'll kind of go around and it will show up on, say for example, on CAT scans and the various kind of equipment they have. They're actually, those scans are not going into the body. They're reading the energy field actually around people. They're depicting an energetic blueprint of what's going on energetically within the body. So when they see the tumor, okay, this black spot over there, they say, oh, there's a tumor over here. They're actually reading the energy from the machine. And that's what some people who do energy work, they can kind of feel and sense, oh, I feel there's a real black spot here, a black dense energy. And they can detect that there's a tumor growing or something's out of whack on the physical level. And then other things in terms of reading energy fields around people, like an aura, they can just see, ooh, there's a lot of red here, like you're generating this red energy. There's a lot of anger, unresolved anger, resentment, right? Or maybe it's a lot of depression. They can kind of read the energy fields around people. Right? That's when you're kind of tapping into the astral body. It is more tied in with your emotions and your personality of what you all believe and think, in your emotional state is what's going to be radiated out in what's called the astral body. Okay, whereas the etheric body is more tied in with the physical body. All right, so they're just different levels of energy associated with the self. So when a person dies, okay, at death, gosh, I wish I had my room here. I got claustrophobic. I'm going to set this up differently next time. When a person dies, when this physical body is going down, right, and you come to the point of death, the etheric body, along with the astral body and all this, leaves the body. The etheric body will kind of hang around just for a little while, maybe a few days at the most, and then it just fizzles out. It's no more. But you will then continue on here, okay, through the astral body, mental body, causal body, and spirit will continue on. And it's generally held that when you're seeing a ghost, you are seeing their astral body. And sometimes some people will say you can see almost like the etheric body too, just kind of leaving the physical body at death and maybe hovering for a little bit and then it gradually just dissipates. But it's held that the etheric body is just like the physical body, just like the astral body also, when people astral travel, is held that it's like, this is like the soul, it looks just like you. When you're seeing a ghost, it's generally held you're seeing the astral body. But it's like this physical body, but it's less dense. And that's why you could put your hand through the ghost, okay? Because it's non-material. But yet at the same time, you might sense of your goosebumps and your hair will go up. And maybe you'll feel a coldness here or a change in energy, right? So you can kind of sense and pick things up energetically. You'll feel and sense things. But yet it's not material in terms of, the way we have our hard body, right? And when you can put your hand through a ghost. So that's generally kind of what it's held that you would see here with the astral body. Okay, and let me just kind of go on with that for a little bit in terms of just explaining some things. So another thing, when we talk about this is the physical plane, the etheric plane, and then the astral plane, right, is held that in terms of some paranormal phenomena, when I'm seeing a ghost, I could be literally seeing them in the astral body, kind of still hanging around. They're souls that haven't gone on to the light, and the idea is that many will think that they have to lead them there and let them know sometimes that, hey, you're dead. You need to leave this plane and move on to higher worlds, higher planes of reality, but to leave this world. Okay, because sometimes they don't know. Sometimes people hang around here, not just because they're lost. It could be that they're emotionally attached to something in this world. They might be emotionally attached to a place, and they loved playing piano all the time, or they love their home, or they love their children, and they're not going to leave their children or a loved one behind, and they're hovering over, like almost like a little bit of a guardian angel, wanting to protect them and help them out in some ways. Or it could be through revenge, that perhaps they were murdered and they want justice to be done, and they want the murderer to be found, and they're vengeful and they're seeking revenge for something that had happened, right? So there could be some kind of emotional attachment that can keep a soul in this lower level world in some way, okay? And they don't move on to higher levels because of that emotional attachment, okay? That's one key thing here, right? Another key thing about this is events that happen through either repetition, a lot of repetition, or emotional intensity, okay? Emotional intensity, they will leave an imprint on what sometimes called the Akashic field. It's sort of like the energy field of a place. There will be an imprint left on that place. And it could be, for example, like some women one time over in France somewhere, they were in a park, and they both had the experience that all of a sudden the park changed, and they saw these soldiers like back in the 1700s with swords and fighting each other and doing this and that, and they just all of a sudden witnessed this battle taking place right in front of their eyes, and that poof, all of a sudden it was gone. And they both saw it. And they found out later that indeed at that place there was a very famous, intense battle that had taken place, okay, a couple hundred years ago. And that is, relatively common sort of thing. It's not like it's like an everyday experience, but it happens. And it's quite consistent this way, that when there were intense battles and intense emotion and something really intense happened, it's like it leaves an energetic imprint in that area. And sometimes, for whatever weird reason, when people go there, they can all of a sudden experience it or see it. Okay, they see that imprint. It's left there. They pick it up energetically somehow. Okay, so that's something that can happen. Another way that can happen is through repetition. So say, for example, another story of people, I think over in Scotland somewhere, people are driving down the road, it's getting dark, and they want to get to a hotel down the road in the country somewhere, and they're driving along the road, and all of a sudden, in front of them, they see this man with some sheep walking across the road, and they slam on the brake, and they didn't make it in time, but drive right through him. And then they look behind, and there's nobody there, there's nothing there. It totally freaks them out. And so when they get to the inn, the hotel that they want to stay with, they tell the people at the inn, like, oh, what just happened? We drove through this guy with this sheep going across the road, and the hotel keeper says, oh, yeah, well, that's old George. Everybody sees George around here, and every night he kind of puts his sheep out to pasture, and it's well known as a regular sighting amongst the locals of this ghost, okay? And so here's another example through repetition. Somebody always moving the sheep every day from A to B for 80, 90 years or whatever, and left an energetic imprint in that place. All right, and that sort of kind of correlates with what's called the astral plane. It's a certain dimension of reality, of a certain vibrational frequency that makes up this world. So a lot of ghost type experiences, paranormal phenomena kind of fit in with that, right? This is sort of the idea here, the model that's worked with. Okay, so then at death, okay, the physical body is gone, the etheric body dissipates. You'll continue on in your astral body, and that's when you kind of go into more kind of heavenly realms like Summerland that I had mentioned previously in spiritualism, okay, where you look like you and other people look like them. You'll see your dead relatives, a dead dog you had or what have you, okay. Then there's another part of the self that's called the mental body. Okay, the mental body. And that's the part of you of, again, a higher vibrational frequency that's tied in with your thoughts, your mind, what you think, what you believe, your ideas. Okay, it's just in a sense a part of consciousness. So it's tied in with your mind. All right, and so here generally is held that this is where you are, in a sense, a point of consciousness. Okay, and it seems that this is perhaps what people experience or encounter when they see what's called light orbs. All right, this has become quite common in more recent years because of our cameras and how they've developed, that people are getting them more on film. So you'll have, you know, stories and pictures and videos of people in various places and these lights, you know, light bulb, like balls of light, sometimes white, sometimes of different colors, blue or red, so just moving around or just hovering around, or sometimes a face will emerge out of that ball of light. This is throughout the history of humanity, people reciting these kinds of experiences. You find them, different religions here, there, all over the place. And it seems that this is then where the self can exist just as a ball of light, okay, as a ball of light, as a point of consciousness, as a ball of light, as opposed to a full-fledged body, like the way we think of the body or the way we think of spirits and ghosts, right? So, excuse me. So that's what that seems to be associated with the mental body. Excuse me, like a sip. Then there is, at a deeper level within the consciousness, is what's called the causal body that exists on the causal plane. And it's called that because it's at this level, this is the place of causation. And this is where the power of consciousness and intention can shift reality, okay? This is when you're going into beliefs, and beliefs. It's not just an idea, all right? With the point of consciousness, like you have the thought, boom, there you are. You want to go here, boom, there you go. Boom, you go at the speed of thought, here, there, this, that, whatever. But the causal body is that point of consciousness that creates reality, that has the power to shift reality, materialize the reality that one wants. It's held that when you're doing visualization, magic, involving the power of intention, or very intense prayer, is when you really deeply, powerfully, strongly hold to that idea, and it's like, vroom. Is an intention, right? It has the power of causation. It can shift, create reality. That's why it's called causal. And that happens on the causal plane. It's a certain level of reality, and that you can kind of, through meditation, get up to this higher state. Generally, it helps to be at a theta state, a theta wave frequency state, that then you can kind of really tune in and boom, literally manifest reality, shift reality, create reality. Anyway, and people claim to do this. So I'll just give you a couple of stories here. But so, for example, this one woman who went to Tibet eons ago, like probably about almost 100 years ago, and she went and studied with the Tibetan Buddhist monks there and did intense training, very intense training. And anyways, to make a long story short, a part of the training involved the ability of literally creating beings through the power of thought and intention. And so she then, through her meditations, she created a lama, a Buddhist monk. And just through, again, the focus of the mind, and eventually, it materialized. And then at first she thought it was just maybe her own powerful imagination imagining it. But then one day while she was in her tent with her materialized monk with her, another monk came in and acknowledged the other monk's presence. So then she knew, oh, it's not just in my head. They're seeing this monk too, okay? And then what happened for her in her story, she was saying, and then this being that she conjured, in a sense, started to become nasty and cause problems. So she then had to undo it and dematerialize it and get rid of it. Okay, that's sort of her story. Another story I heard about how this was in Russia, in a certain occult society group that they got together to experiment and do these sorts of practices, where there's a group of them where they thought, well, let's see what we can do through the power of concentration, meditation, to visualize intention and cause reality to appear and manifest, right? So they decided, well, let's just come up with something. And so to make a long story short, they came up with the figure of Puss in Boots. Okay, Puss in Boots. You know, I don't know where Puss in Boots comes from. I guess it's from a fairy story tale, something. But a cat with boots and a hat. You know, there's a whole image of the cat in boots, Puss in Boots. And so they did. So they got together and they meditate for hours. And eventually a bit of a haze starts appearing. A bit of a smoky film starts materializing. And then as time went on, it got more and more dense, and then it literally became and took on the form of a Puss in Boots that they visualized and created through the power of mind and intention through these meditations, collectively as a group materialized in front of them. Right? So you'll have these sorts of stories here. And this is kind of how it fits in with the model of reality and the model of the self. Right, in these sort of esoteric circles, okay? All right, spooky stuff. So this is, again, how reality is seen, and that we each have a physical body, etheric body, astral body, mental body, causal body, but at the level of spirit, we are actually, the cliche line that's given, we are all God having the human experience, okay? And I'll do a bit more on that in another video. In terms of how that is seen and understood. So hopefully, again, just to give you a bit of a map here, that I do have, I kind of talk about this in my chapter there on Esoteric New Age, okay, that I just thought I'd show you a visual of this, and hopefully this makes some sense, okay? All right, ciao.